Hi, everyone. Welcome to a crazy busy short attention span webinar. Kelly, how are you?
I'm crazy busy, Bill. I'm crazy busy.
Decaf, baby, decaf.
I know, I should.
There is a book. Have you ever read the book, Crazy Busy?
No.
No, yeah. There's a book written by Edward Hallowell, and it is about how, what do you call it? It's like strategies in a world gone ADD.
Interesting.
Edward Hallowell was a Harvard professor, might still be, but he has a company in Lincoln, I think it's Lincoln, Massachusetts, where he does work with people, adults who are ADD. And they're, as an adult with ADD, I read everything this guy's ever put out, and it really is remarkable. But the whole concept of being crazy busy got me thinking about those peak times, and that's really what we're talking about here, the peak times of activity where you're just nuts. It's, to be ADD is to be overwhelmed. That's, you know, everything is priority, and that's kind of the world that we live in. It's very difficult to disseminate and organize. It's everything. It's just everything hitting at once. And when normal people like you, Kelly, who are not ADD, when that hits you, it's called crazy busy. For us, we call it, you know, Monday. But you have to have strategies because, you know, you've got peaks and valleys in your life. You've got peaks and valleys in terms of your time management, your to-do list. We wanted to give you some strategies for how to survive this. Number one is just understand that, that this is crazy busy times and that it's temporary. Kelly, why is that important? I know this is my point and all, but
you certainly wouldn't want to, you know, continually function in this mode because, you know, you'll start to miss things and things will, you know, you couldn't maintain this level of a pace for any extended period of time. And it's important to remember that this really does define, it's different than being busy. You know, it's different than, wow, I can't believe I worked through lunch, or yeah, I'm exhausted at the end of the day. I mean, this is unusual for your pace, unusual for you, where you know, things are just are beyond what a normal busy day would be. So we do have to remember that, you know, this may be because one of your biggest clients has really hit a peak or something like that, and to know how to recognize it and say, it's not always going to be like this, but while it is like this, I'm just going to work as hard as I possibly can to keep everything floating.
And this next point is difficult, saying no. You know, if I called you up and I said, Kelly, I need that report that we were talking about, and you are crazy busy, you know, you've got all kinds of deadlines, and the girls are sick, and, you know, your husband's after you for something, and to say no is difficult. Most of us are pleasers. That's kind of why we're in sales. But you know what? Maybe it's not dead no, but it might just be, hey, look, can I get this to you tomorrow, or can you wait till next week? It's still difficult to say that, but incredibly important. The next part, building on what Kelly had said, recognizing that it's temporary, is to say, all right, for a short period of time, I'm going to need to commit to longer hours. I'm simply going to need to come in early. I'm going to need to stay late. Maybe I need to come in on a weekend just to get organized. And Kelly, you've been through that, right? I mean, those are just, again, temporary times.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, I've definitely, you know, spent my share of Saturdays in my office just to clean it and get it, you know, up to snuff. But I guess I'm kind of surprised at how many people would never consider doing this. And I think knowing that it's only going to happen very occasionally, yeah, you do need to come in at 7 o'clock in the morning to clear your emails so that you can, you know, when 8 o'clock hits, you're dealing with things that are going to generate revenue. Because if you rob yourself of that time, you know, something's going to get missed, and you would certainly not want it to be a customer or anything to do with something that's going to generate money for you. So yeah, you got to put it, you know, a couple of hours here and there is not going to kill anybody.
I find personally, I need to get set. You know, and I get crazy busy a lot. Like you said when we were preparing for this call, I said, Bill, this is right up your alley. You're always crazy busy.
Right.
I need to get set. Now, last night, for example, before I left, I pulled out a pad of paper, and I gathered all the little pieces of paper that were on my desk, and I just made a list, one list of everything that had to get done on Thursday, all right, which is today. And just that one act was critical for me to get established. So that might be something that you do on a Saturday. You come in, you work through everything, and then you make that list. Now, the fifth point there, Pareto's Law. There is a book called The 4-Hour Work Week. Very good book. There's a great explanation of Pareto's Law. And Kelly and I just looked this up, by the way, on Wikipedia, so we get it right, and I wrote it down. Pareto's Law says that 80% of the effect comes from 20% of the causes. And Kelly, we interpreted that as how?
Well, basically it means that 80% of the results that you generate come from 20% of your effort, which said another way can mean that 20% of your time is spent producing, most of your results, and that means that a lot of other stuff could, I suppose, be considered wasted time.
Yes. Yeah. The first time I heard that, I was on my way back from Drupa. It was 2000, year 2000. On my way back from Drupa, I remember I was on a train going from Boston down to my house down near the Cape, and I sat next to a guy that I knew, and he threw that at me. It's just weird how you remember things. And the first thing I thought of was just that, Kelly. 80% of the stuff on my to-do list is garbage and doesn't belong there. And I remember pulling out my Palm Pilot, which is making me feel old, pulling out my Palm Pilot and just going, delete, 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 delete. Remember Pareto's Law. Look it up on Wikipedia so you get a good understanding that 80% of the effect, which is what you want, comes from 20% of the cause, the things that you do. Focus on what you should be doing in these crazy busy times. Number 6 is important. It's probably one of the most important on this list. Prioritize on the fly. Now, I do this several times a day. Kelly and I are going to get off the phone in a few minutes, and we're going to be done creating these short attention span webinars. I'm going to say, what time is it? What do I have coming up? What's left to do? What's most important? And you do that several times a day. You just keep working through what's important. And it's going to change because, I mean, if my cell phone is ringing while I'm on the phone here making this call. That's going to all of a sudden move up to the priority list. My daughter's going to walk in the door and say, Dad, I need a ride. That's going to move up on the priority list. But it's that prioritizing thing on the fly over and over and over and over again and again. The next point, Kelly, is about prospecting. This is kind of one of those duh things, but keep prospecting. How do we do this? How do we make this a must?
Well, you absolutely must keep doing it if you want to keep generating new revenue and keep that backfill, activity going. And that's just by commitment. It's by discipline and commitment to deciding that no matter what, I will make 5 calls a day. Now, the best way to do that and to keep your word on that is to do it early. Know that, if you just made your 5 sales calls before you got your first cup of coffee in the morning, then it would be something that you didn't have to worry about for the rest of the day. Just like if you exercise before you go to work, then you don't have to think about it again. But without doubt, you cannot let your prospecting efforts be supplanted by any of these other activities, because you will be sorry for it another, in a month or in 2 months or in 3 months. If you let that activity dry up, you will be in big trouble.
And you just hit on the 8th point, too, which is do the most important things first that's got to get done. Get that done first thing in the morning. I know personally, if I want to exercise and I don't do it first thing, it doesn't get done. If I want to prospect and I don't do it first thing, it doesn't get done. Finally, at the end of the day, and this is our favorite time management tip, that you never leave today without having tomorrow planned. So especially during crazy busy times, you make a list of what tomorrow looks like so that you can, number 10, go home and be present with your family. You've got to protect your personal time. You've got to protect your health during these crazy busy times. You're no good exhausted. You lose your creativity if you're not getting enough sleep. I know some people can work late at night. I'm not one of those people. If I work late at night, I think all night long. I want to rest. I want to have that creative juice going. But, very, very important when it is nutso that you spend the time to get ready for tomorrow so that you can then shut it down and then pick it up again, realize that it's temporary. And this is an acquired skill, right, Kelly? I mean, no one's born with this skill.
Oh, most definitely. And again, I say this a lot, but I'm very stunned at how many people don't do this, that don't know what they're doing tomorrow until they show up for work that day, and you're already behind the 8 ball if you let that happen. And that will constantly be, the phone is on their table, at their kitchen table, and they're constantly looking at it. You're right. You're no good to anybody if you can't focus on one thing at a time. Be there with your family. Know that the work will be there for you in the morning. If you can confidently say, I worked like crazy today, it'll be there for you tomorrow.
All right. Well, there's the survival tips for your crazy busy times. Kelly, thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Don't get too crazy.
Oh, well, I'll keep busy. And everyone, we will talk to you in the next Short Attention Span webinar.